Hi, I'm Josh Keegan and welcome to the Space Down Under live! On the 24th of October 2021, I was at the Five Star Cinemas at New Farm in Brisbane with a couple of other space enthusiasts to watch the premiere of To the Stars. To the Stars is a documentary about Gilmour Space Technologies, created by Robin and Paul Williams, which started shooting in August of 2017. In this live stream, we'll be chatting all about the documentary, trying to provide our thoughts and insights into what we saw, encouraging you to go and see it, or contacting the filmmakers directly to help support the distribution to a wider audience. Joining me to chat about this live stream are two people I saw the documentary with, Alan Reynolds and James O'Connor. Alan has worked at a radio station, 101.5 FM from 1999 to 2008. He's done lots of roles. He's been an announcer, an environmental and news reporter, a finance officer and committee secretary, and also an admin. He's run a shopping centre cleaning I'll try that again. He's been a shopping centre cleaning manager for 10 years, and most importantly, he's worked for Australia Post for 9 years in delivery and admin. He's got some very interesting hobbies, including space sciences, high technology, and Tesla news, and is also a goat farmer. Alan lives around about in regional Queensland, about 2 to 3 hours from Brisbane, and he lives from Brisbane, and he has a partner and her 2 children. James, on the other hand, is also joining me as well, and he has a Bachelor of Science in Geophysics. He also has a Bachelor of Teaching in Secondary Education, is a qualified and experienced high school science teacher, is a casual academic lecturer in environmental sciences, and a science communicator that runs a popular Instagram channel called Educating Space. Welcome, Alan and James, and thank you very much for joining me to talk about To the Stars documentary.
Thanks, Josh.
So as a reminder for everyone, there is a chat window that you actually get to ask your questions, and I'll keep an eye on it so we can answer them as we go. So things will actually we'll progress forward. We'll keep an eye on that chat, and I'll try and answer them as we go. So I thought I'd start and try and provide everyone with a bit of context by launching straight into the documentary we saw by showing you the promo. Whoops.
I first met Adam and James Gilmour when they came to the US, and they had amazing ideas for their hybrid rocket.
You know, we want to go to space at the end of next year, and that'll put Australia back in the space race again. We think we could have built the rocket already, but to build the whole launch system, the trailer, the launch tower, the ground control station is a significant task.
The satellites have become smaller, cheaper to manufacture, and that sort of change has meant that you've got new startups in Australia, 90 new space startups in the last 2 years alone.
And we need to have rockets to launch that capability.
You know, one thing I can tell everybody is it's a heck of a lot harder than you think. You know, a lot of things are going to go wrong, so a lot of things will go wrong. And then you need time to be able to suck that up.
We'll do whatever we can to get to where we want to go, and that's to the stars.
Okay, guys, that was To the Stars documentary by Robin and Paul Williams. So, guys, Alan and James, what did you actually think of the movie? I mean, it was good to sit with you and sit through the movie. What are your initial thoughts about the movie, what you saw? Fill us in.
James?
Yeah,
you can go first.
I really enjoyed it. It's excellent to really get a bit of a breadth and understanding of some of the history as well. I think as far as understanding a bit of the history behind rockets in Australia, and like the depth that went into, that was definitely a really big highlight for me, because it's not like you have to be a rocket expert walking into the movie. You can really just sort of sit back and just really enjoy just learning about what an amazing history Australia's actually had to do with space.
And Alan, how about you? What did you think?
Yeah, well, I just love the nuts and bolts of it, just actually behind the scenes. And actually, this is a suburban rocket building shed, and just the goings on, the day to day stuff. I mean, who would have thought they would have spent so much time just building the guide rail, for the actual rocket launch itself. It's just phenomenal. Just this, you think, oh, they just throw a rocket in an engine into the rocket and just put it all together and away they go. But no, seriously, there's a lot of stuff going on as well in the background, such as infrastructure, just to actually launch it.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, out of all of this, the biggest surprise for me was actually, that, and they said it rightly so in the movie, was that Australia doesn't have the capability yet, in terms of actually being able to build the rocket. So it was a big learning curve for the entire Gilmour Space team to actually learn how to machine the parts and do all the necessary, learn all the necessary skills and everything to actually build the rocket in the first place. And then because there is no one experienced in Australia to actually do this sort of stuff. So they actually had to start with a team from scratch. They've started with a whole bunch of engineers with a lot of enthusiasm, but no actual practical experience in terms of being able to build rockets. And that's simply because of the ITAR. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting ITAR restrictions that are out of the United States. So yeah, we can't exactly employ anybody from the US to come out here to build the rocket for us. We actually have to start all this sort of stuff from scratch, and that was the big eye opener for me. Was actually showing that the journey along taking Gilmour Space was taking us along on the journey of exactly how they went to teach people the skills as well to actually build the rockets. I thought that was very, very interesting. And for everyone who's watching, unfortunately, I haven't actually gotten any footage in regard to the promo or anything else that we've seen. So you'll just have to rely on the three weird guys talking about this a little bit and trying to give our thoughts and insights into it. So what in terms of all of this, Alan, what was your biggest surprise out of all of this? What was the biggest thing that shocked you a little bit?
Well, just simply that they did actually try a launch out at Mount Isa, and there was just no media coverage. I wasn't aware of it at all. I mean, that's just 2 years ago, and I didn't hear a thing in the media. And yet, I love my rocket science. So, if there was anything available about it, I would have been, swooping in on it crazy. But it all just happened so quietly. Just American media just doesn't show. Australian media just doesn't follow this sort of thing. It's for the nerds.
Yeah, I think Alan also, they were very keen to not publicise exactly where they were going to be, because they really wanted to make sure that they had the team together, and they obviously wanted to make sure that everything would go smoothly logistically, and I guess they didn't really want anyone out on the range. So I'm pretty sure that one of the things actually talking about that is looking at the film and just appreciating the logistical challenges that they faced, and just how many things that can go wrong and have to be planned for, and just the complexities that are involved. It was really, I think, really important for people that perhaps don't have an understanding of rocketry or even setting up your own really complicated business. This is a really good film to see, to get an appreciation for for how big an undertaking it is to actually to launch rockets.
Yeah, my biggest surprise out of all of this as well is, and I'll get to the failure in a second, because believe it or not, I actually have some footage, and I can't say where I got it from, but I do have the footage of it. So my biggest surprise in all of this was that yes, you fail fast and you fail forward, which is always the Elon Musk way, and which is pretty much agile way anyway. But the biggest surprise out of all of this to me was the sheer it didn't matter the timelines. Adam kept setting the timeline and saying, "Oh, looky, we're going to be doing next year, and we're going to be doing this, and we're going to be doing that." And then the team wasn't up to where Adam's aspirations were, and so he was quite calm and comfortable and all that sort of stuff to actually actually make sure that that the team was able to work successfully together, even though it was a failure. They were able to work together quite successfully as a team, and that was real big surprise to me. It was like they were pushing forward regardless, and they were making sure that everybody on the team was more comfortable with the fact that ultimately in the end that it didn't work out, but that they needed to learn the skills, they needed to progress through their own knowledge to actually make the rocket. That was a big surprise to me. It's just how understanding that there actually were of the team that was behind them, because without the team, of course, as we all know, if you don't have the team, you're never going to build a rocket, and you don't have a product in the end. So
yeah, Josh,
So
I just one thing in
Sure.
terms of the word fail. Fail is a very strong word. I came across a really good acronym the other day, which was FAIL. It's first attempt in learning, and I think that I really like how it's a continuous process of improving, even where there are roadblocks. I think that I'd still am reluctant to let that particular what you see, consider it as failure. I really think that it's the iterative process that they're going through. And
learning process.
Yeah,
Just part of the learning process. We've all got to go through it. I mean, look at Elon Musk. His first attempts with the Falcon rockets. Out on the atoll there. 3 failures. Here we go. I'm nearly out of money. But he succeeded. So will Gilmour Space.
And you're right. And yes, it's I understand the not to use the word failure, but it's the way you treat the failure, which is what they've done. And it's actually learning from it, which is the big thing, is actually making sure that you've got all the lessons learned and all that sort of stuff. So and the correct term, I think, is rapid unscheduled disassembly from memory.
That's it.
So it's a RUD.
That's the one.
So
yep.
The unscheduled disassembly at the time was actually it was just more of a poof than an actual explosion. So, which is even better again, simply because they're not actually shattering parts all over the Australian outback. Even though we don't know the location, we do know that there was red soil in the background. So they must have been a way out. I think they said in the movie 4 hours or something like that. So yeah, they were a fair way out. All right. So I've got a couple of questions already from Julian Timmers. I think will there be more to launching a rocket besides building the hardware? Well, the hardware is actually very important to actually build the rocket in the first place. So yes, they are looking to, and that's the thing, is that building the hardware in behind the actual rocket is going to be helping everything. Corinna Stanley has said and asked the question: are they being supported by the Australian government? Yes, they are. They are being supported by the Australian government. They're also now being supported by the Queensland government. That was second, because first was they were supported mainly by venture capitalists in the first instance, which actually gave them their first tranche of money to actually build the capability in behind it all. So yes, that was part of it as well. So so if everybody would like to see, this is probably a good time to segue into exactly what the rapid unscheduled disassembly looked like, because I have that footage. Yeah, so that was the actual anomaly there. And as we saw in the actual movie at the time, the guys were still continuing with the count because they were literally in a control bunker that was they didn't have a live view of the rocket at that particular point in time. So yeah, that was a very interesting insight into exactly what happened there. So yeah, guys. So James, what did you think of actually being able to show that within the context of the documentary?
Yeah, I thought it was important definitely to see it, and I think that, I mean, it's not so much that obviously that particular launch wasn't successful. I think that right all the way up to that point, you saw so much. So much that I actually really tremendously respect about the engineering and all the sort of everything that goes behind actually making the rockets. So that for me was more insightful. I have been really fortunate to actually go and check out some of the facility that they used to have, which was part of the strawberry farm. So,
Wow.
so I have actually, seen, for example, they're doing a whole lot of really amazing stuff for the 3D printing, all sorts of really cool stuff. That for me more is actually just amazing to see that rail set up, and I think it's going to be successful next time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Alan?
Certainly. The thing that stands out too is we've got to remember is just helping our future engineers and future technicians, and that's something that James Gilmour brought up quite often through the movie, was the fact that he is very much into STEM. He's very much keen to get as much of the university graduates and that sort of thing coming over, getting their fingers dirty, actually doing hands-on stuff such as rocket building, software production, playing with the chemicals, and all this sort of stuff. It was fascinating to see, that he is thinking of the future. James and Adam, sorry, I should mention Adam. The both of them are very keen to see Queensland and Australia move forward, because that's simply a big thing that we haven't had in the past, is somewhere for our engineers to go. I've known so many people that have finished their uni student, they've gone through, they've kept going, they've done their bachelors, they've, gone postgrad and everything, and then in the end, all they can do is basically go over to NASA or the ESA, Europeans, because there's nothing here for them to actually put their teeth into. There's just right. No industry. So sad to see, all those decades that I've been watching space industry in Australia, but now, now it's, this nascent sort of period where we're actually coming up to actual rocket industry now in Australia and the space industry. There's so many companies starting to pop up now, not only rocket building, but we're into computer technology, we're into mini-sat construction, and so many facets now are suddenly popping up all around Australia.
Yeah, well, and building on that point, there are a lot of pop-ups and startups and all that sort of stuff around Australia. We have at least 3, 4, 5 launch pads under construction right now, so the infrastructure Correct. Is certainly becoming available very, very quickly. In terms of the whole, what was I going to say about what's going to happen next is, unfortunately, I've actually already had an interview with Gilmour Space. I've had a follow-up interview. I had an original one not long after the failure. That's somewhere on the YouTube channel if you want to go and have a look, anybody. So there's that one that was actually, Adam goes through and describes exactly what happened in terms of the failure. It was a pressure valve that actually was trying to fill up the particular tank, and there was a communication error between the pressure valve, and in talking, it didn't talk fast enough to actually say it was full, and that's why it was more of a pop than an explosion. So I've been back to Gilmour Space, and I've had another interview with them, and I don't have any footage of it, unfortunately. I wasn't allowed, simply because I have seen the next rocket under construction, and good God, it's big. It's enormous. It's actually enormous. But again, in terms of being able to launch next year, I noticed there has been a slip from Q2 to Q3, so somewhere in Q3 they'll be looking to launch, I believe, from Abbott Point. So that's just be interesting to see exactly what will happen next. I was also surprised, and we said this on the day as well, about that we were there, and it was just happened to be Gilmour staff more than anything else. Apparently, after looking into it, Gilmour's were already shown this by Paul and Robin earlier, and Robin fortunately provided me with a picture of them all together at the premiere. That's why they weren't at the one we were at, because they'd already seen it. So I found that interesting that they were showing it more or less to the general public, and they weren't there. So it was a little bit disappointing. I would have liked to have said congratulations, all that sort of stuff. But guys, Alan, what was your thoughts about them not making an appearance on the day? Do you think it was a big letdown, or you were quite happy that they'd already seen it?
Well, no, I was totally unaware of that, and I thought that it was actually, actually someone had actually organised this one-off showing. So when I walked in, I really did expect to have a preview discussion with some members of any groups, any space groups, or even just the actual cinema people themselves, and settle us into it. And then at the end, I thought, well, okay, so no one popped their head up at the start, so that's the end of the movie. So we're going to have a chat here, and yeah, it really was just a movie showing. That's all there was, So I thought, oh, so who was here? Who was around? And so I was so just dying to yell out, hey, who's here? Who's from Gilmour Space?
Yeah, kind
any
of.
other space agencies here?
There were definitely there were a couple of engineers that were there, but yeah, it would have been great to see Adam or James at the end just jump up and say g'day. But obviously it's difficult because I mean, remember we are in the middle of a sort of a COVID time, and it's really tricky. So I was, to be honest, just happy to get to the cinema to be able to go to the cinema. I'm sure there's people around and out there be just be happy to get out into the cinema. But one thing I do want to say about the footage of the rapidly rapid
unscheduled disassembly.
That's the one, yeah.
Disassembly, yeah.
In defense of Gilmour Space Technologies, they actually did release that via their social media 118 weeks ago. And they were great about it. Like they actually showed it, and that was, I thought, was really good of them, because we are always used to seeing a rosy existence on social media and Instagram and so forth. We're always used to successes, but I think that them actually being able to show their failures as well is excellent. I think it's great, not great, hooray, but it's I think really instructive, because people don't appreciate how difficult rocket science is. Space is hard.
Oh yeah, space is absolutely hard, and that's the thing. Is like even though you said that they shared it on social media, just from knowing what's been going on in terms of Gilmour Space Technologies and all that sort of stuff, they have certainly opened up their social media a lot more since that anomaly. And yeah, I found that watching, because I'm keen for any sort of information I can possibly get on all this sort of stuff. And yeah, what I've noticed is they've actually become they've started to share an awful lot more about what they're doing, how they're doing, the people in behind Gilmour Space, because prior to that, it just seemed to be very focused on Adam, which is fine. It's okay. He's the head of the company and all that sort of stuff, but or the CEO of the company. But I just thought, it just seemed to be a very limited view. And I'm proud to say now that it's actually it's increased out to a lot of other people as well, which is fantastic to see. So in terms of one single showing, I've been in contact with Robin Williams in regard to this live stream, and I've actually got some good news. So there will be another showing, believe it or not, on Sunday the 21st of November, and I only found this out, I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
So Sunday the 21st of November at 3 p.m. at the Sanctuary Cove Film Festival. Now, the tickets are a little bit more expensive than what we paid. I think it was like $12 or something like that. But I think it's $45 from memory. But in that, it's actually an independent film showing, so you get to see all the independent films as part of that entire package. So yeah, there is going to be another showing. Again, as I said before, is that Robin and Paul are independent filmmakers. They pretty much have to finance and look for finance themselves in terms of getting this distributed to independent festivals and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, if anybody wants to help those guys out, because I know that there are a few keen avid watchers of the Space Down Under who would actually like to see this sort of stuff have reached out to me independently. So the only way really we're going to get to see it is if you get in contact with those guys yourselves and see if you can support in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
I would
might have to get a group going.
Yeah, I would honestly highly encourage people to go and see the film. I really, I would wholeheartedly encourage you, if you can go to that film festival, to go and check it out. It's well worth it.
Most definitely. Yeah. And if anyone wants to get a group going, by all means, have a chat to Josh, and see what we can do. Because I'll put my hand up. I'll be there for sure with bells on. Yeah.
I might hold you to that, mate. You want to be careful. How's your bell collection? All right. So just as well, because I've been contacted by Robin, and she only I sent out a bunch of questions, and it's because she's doing other things. I do have a list of responses that she was able to provide. So I apologise for everyone who's watching online. This may not be the best transition I've ever done. Mind you, I've done some pretty bad transitions during even this live stream. So here we go. So what I've got to do is I've got to change and flick screens and get rid of those two guys and flick that over. All right. So yeah. So speaking to Robin. Oh, geez. There we go. All right. So basically, Robin was able to answer these questions for me. So there's a picture of Robin right there. And she was able to go through it. So what I'll do is I'll read through these quite briefly, and then what I'll do is I'll put them up so everyone can see them, and they should be in the comments below somewhere. All right. So Robin basically has no formal interest in the Australian space industry, but she does have the same interests as members of the general public, and also interest and fascination and the wider subject of astronomy and what we see in the night sky. So she's actually a child of the Apollo 11 era, so she watched a lot of the launches in the lead up to Apollo 11, and at the same time she watched the failure of Apollo 13. So yes, she's become a huge fan of the series Lost in Space, and tended to think that the Apollo 13 crew would be fine just forever lost in space. So the motivation for doing this, it was just pure serendipity, according to Robin. So she had no idea who or what Gilmour Space Technologies were doing or what their flight academy were until a chance visit in April 2017. And that way she was actually looking at getting potential of reaching children, getting them involved, and in terms of their space flight academy that they had, that they have now shut down to focus mainly on building rockets. So she's had a career history in journalism and media, and she was on hand for a press conference. And she was actually blown away by the Space Flight Centre, but in that moment she actually had a chance to make a comment to James about all that sort of stuff, and if she could possibly make a documentary on them. So basically this is the one I will dwell on a little bit here, which is actually Adam's and James's reaction to the pitch. The first approach was that I said, as I was asking James if I could make a documentary about them and agreeing to exchange cards, I also asked him at the time that I would go away and do some major research on the Australian space industry and contact him in a couple of weeks about doing a brief interview with him, get some of the Gilmour background to see what story presented itself. That timeline has happened, and with the interview material from James, I then set about plotting the proposed storyline and who else I wanted to talk to, and look at the concept, and took the concept back to James and Adam about a month later, when James was over from Singapore and available in person. Because you got to remember, James Gilmour used to be a banker who worked out of Singapore. They ended up saying it was okay, and we agreed on a process to ensure their proprietary technology was not compromised. Shook hands and basically started shooting not long after that. So the discussions, first meeting was on the 5th of April 2017, and they started in 2017, 5th of April 2017, and they started shooting 2017. So in terms of realizing whether or not they were capturing a piece of Gilmour Space's history, yes, they knew that. She knew that right from the start. Spent a career as a journalist and relied on news sense and instinct. So yeah, for journalists, let me just say, yeah, it's pretty instinctual when you know you're onto a good thing. And so basically, this is where that she saw them as two individual people who had an absolute passion and determination, and they had 100% belief in what they were doing with already sinking millions of dollars into an earlier rocket. And the fact that a venture capitalist had chipped in $5 million Series A funding just convinced Robin that she was onto a good story. So just in regard to the early showing that was given for the crew at Gilmour Space, what was their reaction to it? It was a private casting and crew screening, and it was a wonderful opportunity to catch up with all those involved. They did enjoy the documentary, and many of them are now working on Eris, which is something I've seen, which is huge. Anyway, and they fully understand the complexity and challenges of developing a new space technologies and are a resilient bunch. Will it be available for sale? So thank you for this one, Alan, and a couple of people who've contacted me. Answer is the documentary will eventually be available for retail sale. However, I can't tell you at this stage when that may be. Basically, everything's being held up by COVID. They have a distribution plan, but again, the lockdown on all the states in Australia have simply put their best laid plans into disarray. And there's another one here, which is the last one, which is what are your thoughts on Australia's position in space and our future? And the answer is I would love to have devoted more time to the historic aspects of Australian space, not just the early days of WUMA and the joint Anglo-Australian project, but the politicking that came after that. I think the years of the Australian government's various attitudes to space have cost the nation dearly. Anyway, not just on the world stage, but in technologies here at home. So look, and that's the thing is that she goes on to say that it's having the right attitude, and Australia seems to be in the right attitude at the moment, and it's a very bright future for Australian businesses and companies to make sure that they're able to get in the sovereign launch capability back into Australia. All right, sorry, whoops, I just got to flick back across to you guys. So with some of those responses, I know you guys didn't get to see them. I didn't get a chance to send it out to you, but initial thoughts?
Straight off. Yeah, go on. Way you go, James.
Sorry, James.
Yeah, I thought it was really good how she basically put that in, especially about the way that politically Australia's government support has been, I guess, sporadic of these types of ventures. And yes, I know it's a simplistic answer to give. Are the Gilmours being supported by the government, and just saying yes, they're being supported, but I know that it took a long time for them to be able to get that support. So I certainly don't want that. I want to emphasize that particular point, because they really did have to do so much to try and get that funding, and also from the the support by the agency and everything. So there's a lot of story behind there, I guess, that could really be unpacked there. But the really interesting what she said about the history and how she would have liked to have spoken more about the history. I thought she did a really great job, to be honest, about talking about the history. So that was really good, and she certainly took a real journalist attitude towards it. I really liked the way that they sort of told the story. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. It was great. That's actually one part we haven't touched on is. There is a portion here of, 10-15 minutes, the history of Australian space industry, and the best person they could have got to actually discuss that historical portion was Kerry Doherty from, formerly from Powerhouse Museum. I mean, Kerry has been just a space historian from ground one, so she's got some brilliant footage there of a RESAT launch. Told us the story of how one of the Redstone rockets was spare out at Woomera, and it was a great overall coverage by Kerry just of Australia's early space history. And I thought that was a great touch. She didn't try to do it herself or just sort of read it out or something. She actually did get someone worthy of covering that subject, Australia's historical space industry. And I thought that was brilliant. That was a nice touch. Yeah. That was a good touch. Fascinating. I knew it all myself, but it was just great to see that she did actually. Robin did include that in the actual movie. So just the layman does get a bit of a quick catch up that yes, Australia was at the forefront there for a while, and we just let it go. Just let it slide. It was a great touch.
And building on that is that there's the whole. We had this magnificent space industry, and where we were one of the first OECD nations to actually design, build, and launch our own satellite into low Earth orbit. And the thing was that it still surprises me, even now, is the fact that we did that in 1967. I mean, September 1967, we did that. We were so close to actually having a fully established launch capability, very much like the UK. The UK took a very similar track to us. There was their own rocket that they brought to Woomera as well as part of the Australian Anglo agreement that we had. And way back then we had the capability. It was right here. But however, and the Australian government was due to turn around and establish a space agency or something similar. And hyperbole and political infighting and politicking and everything that Robin rightly said was is exactly how we ended up where we are today. With an agency that only got established in 2018. Sorry to talk over you there. Oh,
correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, away you go, yeah. No, by all means. And another little facet that Kerry threw in the actual movie too was she called Australia's efforts, federal government's efforts in helping the space industry as being suborbital. I thought that was a nice touch. It was lovely. You just got your suborbital thing. We're going to have a Australian space office. Oh no, it turned into nothing. We're going to have a rocket launch area up in Queensland, and then boom, it died. And it's just all these little suborbital flights that we've had, and that's a nice touch by Kerry. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah. Anyway, not to throw anyone under the bus at the Australian Space Agency, because there's a lot of fantastic people working at the Space Agency.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of people really passionate working at the Australian Space Agency right now, and shout out to any of them if they're watching this, because certainly we as we develop and as we get more funding for our agency, then hopefully we will be able to do more. And I've always been sort of I guess when I talk to people at the Australian Space Agency, I say, why can't we be more like Canada? Why can't we have what Canada has? And a few years ago at an Australian Space Research Conference, I was around a bunch of scientists, and we're all in the room, and we're all sort of saying, so what can we do that's more like what Canada's doing? So what is our Canada arm? Now, if you know what the Canada arm is, obviously it's...
I get the pun. I'll laugh at it later.
So anyway, so certainly no disrespect intended for anyone that's working in the Australian Space Agency.
No, absolutely
not. We're going to need to up our funding. And if you're wondering what that funding looks like, we'll just have a look at the Space Agency, Canada's space activities, and then that's going to give you a bit of an idea of what we need to sort of
focus on. That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So right.
Exactly that. And it's the look. And again, I wasn't actually trying to throw them under the bus. It was just I'm just so disappointed by the fact that that we were so close, and it's just frustrating that even before I was born, it could have been done. It's like that would have been awesome. But touching on it as well, that there's also been Australia has also, and especially in Queensland where I am. And everyone else is that there was actually at one stage there was going to be a commercial launch facility, but that involved a lot of the Russians. So that was never going to go ahead, and that was back in the Joe Bielke-Peterson days. So that was a fair while ago. So we have tried a number of times, and yes, it is absolutely, James, you've said the right thing. It's wonderful to see, and yes, I'd love to see the agency continue on, get better funding, and take something under the take notes, I guess, from the Canada Space Agency to get our own Canada arm going. Sorry, I couldn't help that.
Well done.
All right. Look, I don't think there's any more questions. I don't think. I think generally people have been just chatting and seeing what's going on and all that sort of stuff. Talking about obsolete infrastructure, mainly Corinna was saying, Julian was talking about Woomera, and the obsolete infrastructure can't be sold. That's true. It's mainly created in the 60s, so possibly not the best thing to be launching from. A lot of work would need to go into it before you could launch. And then retrofitting old nuclear boosters. What? No idea what that is. That makes for a very interesting conversation. Jax. Hey, Jax. Just a shout out, Jax, to my intern who's actually started. I'm waiting for him to finish school. He's in year 11 at the moment, and he's quite keen to help me out. But he's supposed to be studying for an exams, mate. Anyway, sorry. Yes, sorry, James, you were going to say?
Something about, I think they were going on about ICBM infrastructure. Remember, Australia doesn't have any ICBM infrastructure. So
No, not at all.
Yeah.
We don't have any of those sorts of things. We're being nuclear free. So, but that could all be about to change. But anyway, let's not talk about deals and governments and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we're not going to talk about that. So look, just to let everybody know, just a big shout out to actually say thank you very much, James, and thank you very much to Alan for actually joining me here. Look, if anybody would like to know more about Alan or James, I've placed all the links to their social media accounts in the description below if you want to reach out and get in touch independently apart from this. Sure. All of their details are there. So thank you very much again, guys, for actually joining me. And what I'll do is I'll do the outro at this point. So thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you.
So look, remember, if you want to, if you'd like to see this documentary, you need to get in touch with Paul and Robin Williams, and then there's also the Sanctuary Cove Film Festival at 3 p.m. on Sunday, November 21st. That music is hang on. There we go. So Sanctuary Cove on Sunday, 21st of November at 3 p.m. Just remember, tickets are available on their website, so feel free to go pop along to that and show your support that way. Also, if you just remember that that's all in the description below. If you can't get to the showing, but if you want to support them, just reach out to them. Their website is below as well. And remember, if you've enjoyed this live stream, remember to like and comment on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's liking and commenting and subscribing that actually lets YouTube know to share my channel with more people so they can learn more about what's happening in the Australian space industry. And through my channel, The Space Down Under. Remember, thanks very much for watching and stay calm.